Good afternoon. I'm Melinda Waldrop, the editor of the Columbia Regional Business Report. Thank you for joining us for this virtual presentation of our 2020 Women of Influence. Our honorees are nominated by our readers and selected by a panel of judges. We have a remarkable class this year. We're having to present them to you a little differently, but we're very excited to meet them and get to know a little bit more about them. This event would not be possible without the support of our sponsors, the Doubletree, Nephron Pharmaceuticals, and Clark & Company. We'll hear from them throughout this afternoon. Thank you.
I'm Rick Lackland, Director of Sales and Marketing at the Doubletree Hotel and Conference Center in Columbia, South Carolina. We're thrilled to partner with South Carolina Biz News for South Carolina Women of Influence. Here you are in the Congaree Ballroom, Columbia's hotel's largest ballroom, 10,400 square feet, home of the Bentley Boat Show, the Sea Pro Boat Show, the Sea Hunt Boat Show, the Taste of Lake Murray. We can do it all here. No need to walk down the street or across the street. Take the elevator home. So when you're thinking about doing your next meeting safely, think the Doubletree Hotel and Conference Center in Columbia, South Carolina.
My door is always open, you can come on in. When you're in my neighborhood, baby, you'll never be alone again. Take it away, Jack.
The ticket proceeds from this event will benefit WREN, the Women's Rights and Empowerment Network based in Columbia. Its mission is to advance the health, economic well-being, and rights of South Carolina women and girls and their families through legislative advocacy, community engagement, and coalition building. We are joined by Marguerite McLamb, the owner and president of Palmetto Consulting Engineering Group. Congratulations on your selection as a Woman of Influence for 2020.
Thank you.
You were saying you feel more comfortable in a hard hat. Did you always want to go into engineering? What appealed to you about that field?
I've always wanted to be an engineer from the time I could remember. My father owned a construction company, and he basically had us kids tag along. So most kids got coloring books. I got leftover blueprints to color. Mm-hmm. So it opened my eyes to what could be done out there and the changes. It's just an interesting field.
Right. So some firsthand experience very early. What's the most rewarding part of your job?
Basically, you're changing lives, and the people really never know that you're changing their lives for the betterment. Mom's not happy if mom doesn't have running water and clean, safe drinking water in her house. So by designing good water systems, we're making changes in people's health, people's convenience. There are benefits of life. Same thing with our wastewater systems, the air we breathe, the environment, our flood protection. So you're changing people's lives for the betterment, present and future.
Nothing much more crucial than water to people's lives. You're also a musician, you tell us, or do you still find time for the baritone horn?
I try to play as much as possible. Started in middle school band and then played through my college career and still enjoy it. And for years I played in our church orchestra.
Great. Now you also work with math counts. Math and I suppose engineering and some of the science fields in general, women may not be as encouraged to pursue these. Why is it important to reach out to all people, but women in particular, to get them into these fields?
Basically, Math Counts is a program that's sponsored by Professional Engineering Society, and I'm one who struggles in math, but I have to have math to be an engineer, and I had people who never gave up on me and forced me to figure out a way to get around my weaknesses. So I don't want another child to suffer like I did, and basically Math Counts works with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. It can be a team approach or it can be an individual approach. And if we can put information out there for kids who are weak in math to improve their math skills, if we can bring them up one little level, then we're doing a great job, a great service of trying to show them that they can do better. We also have materials out there that take the most advanced student and take them years beyond where they would normally be in that age bracket. It's a program that's just in the United States, and we've actually had in South Carolina the #1 kid in the nation, which is hard to believe. Little guy by the name of Andy, he was in the 8th grade, and basically he had skipped 2 grades. He's now at MIT.
Wow.
And his life has been changed because of what we did through Math Counts. And it's not just reaching out to guys, it's reaching out to all students, from the weakest, like I said, to the strongest.
Well, that's quite the success story. How do you feel about math now?
It's still a struggle, but there's always people out there willing to help you, and you've got to understand the foundation of the math so that you can get to more complicated and have a little bit more confidence and understand when a computer program is not giving you necessarily the right data. So you've got to be able to understand that this number doesn't look quite kosher. And
Right.
that's where the math comes back into play.
Right. Can't get away from it.
No.
Well, congratulations again, Marguerite. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
We're joined by Irene DeMoss Tyson, Master Planner at Boudreaux. We see your work all over town. We know y'all got your hands in a lot of things, and they all look good when you're done with them.
Well, thank you.
Tell us what drew you to architecture.
Well, it was interesting. When I was young, I always wanted to be a pediatrician, but even at age, I guess, in the 5th grade and 6th grade, I had my clinic designed before anything, and I was always drawing, and my parents designed and built a house, and they let me have a hand in it. And then when I went to Mississippi State, I really went for architecture, but I ended up going into art. But I really I hung out with a lot of architecture students, and Jim Barker, the former president of Clemson, was actually my dean at Mississippi State. And so I kind of worked out a deal with him that I could kind of take the architecture 1 and 2, just swap it out for some art. And then I was hooked from that point on. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So you figured out that the part of the clinic the medical clinic you liked the most was designing
Designing it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, what's the coolest thing about seeing a project go from that drawing board into a steel reality?
Well, and for me, as doing master planning, so I work at kind of a different scale than everyone else in the office, although I do have my hand in architecture. But I can tell you, I mean, just some of the buildings that I've actually had a hand in, and just going from a sketch, and you see it there's like the South Carolina Bar Conference Center. I mean, that it's so much joy, again, just to see sketches and a lot of meetings with clients and figuring out details just kind of come to life. But on a master planning level, it's kind of that same thing. And, kind of right here in our own, right here in the Midlands, I did the master plan, a vision plan for the town of Lexington almost, I guess, about 8 years ago. And it's so much fun now to go to the town of Lexington and to walk through, their Lexington Square. The amphitheater was a project that grew out of that. A lot of things on Main Street, were projects that grew out of that. Their front porch signs. So
Right.
it's kind of, it's just a whole lot of fun to know that you kind of had a hand in that.
Yeah, a few things in that area, I'm sure,
Oh, yeah.
have,
Oh, yeah.
have come up over the years. Well, we are fortunate to know a lot of great female architects. Your CEO, Heather Mitchell, being one.
Yes.
I'm going to guess maybe, though, that it's still kind of a male-dominated field. Do you feel that being a woman brings something, an advantage to your job in any ways?
I do, but I will tell you, I was very blessed going all the way through architecture school that half of my class were women.
Okay.
And so and that was, 30 years ago when I was going through architecture school, that I never felt that I was in a minority at all. And it was interesting because even then, it was the women at my school, and even throughout the profession of architecture with the American Institute of Architects, who were rising to the top in leadership positions. We need more women in the field. We need a lot more diversity all the way around in that. But I do think, as I think in women, we think and act in 5 and 6 and 7 dimensions. We have to.
Right.
Whether if you're a mother or not, if you are a wife or not, or a sister or, caretaker. But I think that women just operate and think a lot more creatively in multiple dimensions. And so I think that helps us be better at creating places and really kind of inspiring spaces for people.
Right.
Not that men don't do the exact same thing, because they do, but I've been very, very fortunate to always work with some very strong, creative women.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of your dimensions is your 4 daughters.
Yes.
What do you try to teach them about going out into the career world, and what lessons do they teach you?
Well, I'm the oldest of 5.
Oh, okay.
And I have 3 brothers and 1 sister. And I have my father, who is still a practicing dentist, very successful still. I have the most amazing mother who did it all. And I think one of the hard things for us as women growing up when I did is that we were told, I was empowered to go out and do whatever I wanted to do. And my parents supported me in every which way. And like that. So to go out and do what I wanted career-wise, but then I had this amazing mama, and I knew I wanted to be the kind of mama she was. What you find out when you're practicing your career and you're a wife and you're raising children, it's just hard to do it all and to do it well all at the same time. I know that my daughters have seen me struggle through that. They've, there have been times when I've just absolutely screwed up. I mean, I love hand painting sugar cookies for everything. And, and sometimes you just have to let that go, and, and that's hard. But I've wanted my daughters to understand that they've got what they need to do whatever it is they want to do, but they're going to have to make some tough decisions along the way, and that just goes with it. And to me, it's worth it. And I'm very, very fortunate that, one daughter has got this amazing career has her back in D.C. She's been in New York, and she's back in D.C., and she is very focused and rising to the top. I have another daughter who is married and gave me my first grandchild, a year ago. And so she's made some decisions, about working and being a mom. Another one who was just married back in April. I have a COVID bride, which is that's been a whole nother one, And then my youngest is a sophomore in college, and I didn't try to sugarcoat anything for them at all along the way, and so I hope that them seeing me excel in so many ways, that they've seen me struggle with some decisions. They've seen me, you've got to make priorities, and you don't always make the best decisions, but I feel that truly my greatest gift to the world are my daughters. Yeah, and that's and I love what I do for my career, and I hope that has inspired them. None of them want to be an architect, but they're all creative in their own right. But I do hope that that's what I'm giving back to the world, are these 4 amazing women who are going to go out and do amazing things too. So.
Well, I'm sure they've had a great role model for finding that balance. Well, congratulations again, Irene. Thank you for speaking with us.
Oh yeah, this has been wonderful. Thank you.
We're joined by Candace McKenzie, the founder, owner, and CEO of Excel Real Estate, which I understand is about to expand.
Yes, we are. Absolutely. So right now we currently have locations headquartered in Columbia. We also have a location in Charleston, which is managed by our managing partner, Stephen Kahn. He is amazing. We have about 35 agents there right now. We are expanding to Charlotte in about 1 to 2 months, and to Sumter, South Carolina.
Wow. So I was going to ask how business is during this global pandemic we have, but apparently pretty good.
It is great. So, of course, with the uncertainty, we weren't sure where we would be when March happened, when the pandemic took effect. But God has been amazing. We have our best month so far has been this summer, July. We did over $10 million in sales.
I've spoken to some real estate agents around town, and they say they have bidding wars on about every listing.
Yes.
And crazy.
It is crazy, but in a very good way.
Right. Well, tell me how you decided to found your own company.
Well, I started real estate in 2008 when many people thought I was crazy.
That's an interesting time.
I started when the market essentially crashed, and I started working in new construction. So I worked for a builder, and I really did enjoy the builder side of the business, but then transitioned to general brokerage around 2012. And in 2015, my business was growing, and so I partnered with my mother. She was my direct partner. We worked side by side together with an amazing brokerage then. And in 2017, between my husband and my mother, we decided to I started Excel Real Estate, and they came along with me.
So not only did you start your own company, but you started it with your mother and your husband.
Yes.
Y'all must get along real well.
We get along great.
Oh, that's good.
I love working with family. And then we were blessed to have some amazing agents follow us. And now we are about 70 agents in Columbia and over 35 in Charleston.
Wow. What was the scariest thing about stepping out on your own, and what's been the most rewarding part of it?
The scariest part, I would just say, would be the unknown. But of course, with faith in God, He keeps me grounded. And so I have to rely on my faith to get me through those difficult decisions and the scary moments, if you will. And the most rewarding is when I see the agents doing such an amazing job. And I can say, you know what? They came to a brand new company, brand new vision, and saw the vision, and they're growing right along with us.
Well, I assume that sometimes you might find yourself in a setting or a conference where you may not look like everyone in the room. It's not a female-dominated industry. What is your advice for women who might find themselves the only one at the table sometimes?
That's a great question. I would say just be true to who you are. Know that God made you who you are, a woman, and for me, a woman of color, and stand in that, and just know that although we are all different, I like to say we're kind of like a salad. We're mixed together. Everything is really good. Not necessarily even a melting pot, because that way we can all be our individual selves, being that piece of the salad. So we bring our own flavor and have input. So I'm excited to be that different person at the table.
Right. Well, you definitely seem to be the successful person at the table.
Thank you.
Congratulations again, and thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you. Thank you for having me.
We're joined by Ashley Batson, the Executive Director of the SC Asphalt Pavement Association.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us, and congratulations on being a woman of influence.
Thank you. It's such an honor.
Now, did you grow up thinking you were going to work in asphalt?
You know, absolutely not. But it's been the greatest privilege of my career to represent this industry. Grew up in Greenwood, South Carolina. And as I said a little bit in my profile, I love to sing and dance and act. And I was always into musical theater, and just somehow found my way into the asphalt paving industry in a roundabout way.
Well, tell us a little about that path.
Sure. So like I said, I grew up in Greenwood. I went to Clemson University. Go Tigers. I know. I love my Gamecocks too, but grew up in a family of Clemson Tigers and majored in communication studies and Spanish. And after that, I decided to pursue a law degree. So I went to the Charleston School of Law. I was in the first class, actually, at the Charleston School of Law. We were the pioneers that year, and we finished in 2007 and went into the practice of law. But growing up, I've always enjoyed politics, government affairs. I was very involved in student government, things like that, and always wanted to get on the government affairs side of things. And so naturally, living in Columbia and working in the legal profession, it transitioned well into an opportunity to work in government affairs. So I lobbied for about a year at the State House, and then heard about the opportunity to come and lead the Asphalt Pavement Association for South Carolina, and interviewed for the job, and here I am almost 10 years later.
Well, that's a very varied background. How do all of those experiences help you in your job?
Sure. I think communication studies was a great launch into just understanding how we communicate, people, networking, all of those skill sets. My background with musical theater and dance and performing, I actually was on the Clemson Rally Cats competitive dance team for 2 years. And performing helps you just, I think, create a level of stage presence and confidence. I do a lot of public speaking in my work and organize a lot of large-scale events for our members. And I think just doing between just a lot of the activities I did growing up, as well as my educational background, and obviously the legal background, helped prepare me for a career in policy and public affairs.
And as you are a woman of influence, are there aspects of being a woman that help you do your job?
Obviously, being the only woman at the table with my board of directors, truly I look different, but I'm valued and respected for my opinions and my thoughts. And I think just been very respected by my colleagues and by the members that I represent. And I think being a woman truly has just empowered me just to go for it and not let the fact that I'm a woman stop me from doing any particular job or role.
You were mentioning recruitment efforts overall, and I know we've written some articles about that, but tell us about those efforts to expand the industry in the state.
Absolutely. Well, obviously with the gas tax passing several years ago, we recognized that we needed a long-term strategy to rebuild our industry, which had been greatly reduced, with the recession several years ago. And so we developed a campaign called Asphalt Works, which is a statewide public awareness campaign trying to recruit any individual into our industry. And then through that, I've been able to participate with the Women of Asphalt National Group to just specifically try to recruit women to come into the industry, because there are roles for everyone in the asphalt paving industry. And it's really neat to see a woman up on a paver or a roller paving the roads outside, or, in the boardroom at several of our companies.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing some of your time with us today, and congratulations again.
Thank you. It truly is an honor and a privilege, and excited to be among such a great group of women in this year's field.
Thanks, Ashley.
So thank you.
Congratulations. Welcome to the AFLAC program. Now tell me, what does AFLAC do?
AFLAC pays you money directly to help with unexpected medical bills.
And is AFLAC health insurance?
No, but it can help with expenses health insurance doesn't cover.
That's right. Are there any questions?
Coach!
Yes.
Can I get one of those cool blue blazers?
You know I can't play favorites. All right, let's talk coverage. It's go time.
Get help with expenses health insurance doesn't cover. Get to know us at aflac.com.
We're joined by Mary Sparrow, owner and operator of Chestnut Cottage Bed and Breakfast, among other things in this town. I believe you're what we call a serial entrepreneur.
That's a good label. Nobody ever came up with that before.
You've had your hand in a variety of businesses, from developing a cocktail sauce to owning the B&B, as we mentioned. Is there a common thread in all that you've done that sort of ties all of your interests together?
I'm attracted to whatever's exciting. If it's new and it's on the horizon, nobody's ever done it before, I'm game. I started out early on as a sales representative, as a teacher, and then in educational publisher sales. And I got to meet so many people all across the United States and work in that, and realize there were so many occupations that I wanted to do. Having kids and growing up with children, and then they grew all up, and then I started thinking about, what do I want to do next? And I couldn't decide on one thing. So that's what has led to several of the careers that I've chosen.
Well, why pick one? You can do them all.
Well, I've tried to do them all, and some of them didn't make it, but at least I tried.
How have you helped people feel like they can be at home in your bed and breakfast during this time?
Well, it's relatively easy, because the people that stay in a bed and breakfast feel like family already. They want it to feel that way. So just being open and asking questions about where they're from and why they're there and why I'm here and what will we do and what's happening in Columbia. Columbia is a city that people don't expect to have so many neat things to do. We'll come back to that, but before the pandemic, I could give them a list of activities from the art museum to the historical houses to the Congaree National Swamp, and there was something for everybody to do. We have a plethora of restaurants. We have a downtown that is so beautiful and easy to walk around in. So people feel comfortable right away and say, this is a nice surprise.
I agree with that. I think Columbia has a lot of charms that maybe most people don't know about. Charleston has its, and Greenville, and they're all great cities, but we are too.
And it's been a surprise for me to understand and uncover all the things that Columbia has to offer. So I feel like a little mini tour guide, and I've made constant friends, and now I'm having repeat people that come back. The bed and breakfast was there for 30 years. I just bought a business, and it happened to be in a historical house, the Mary Boykin Chestnut Cottage. So that has a lot of draw in itself. And my goal has just been to learn how to cook breakfast and to make people feel comfortable in the house and have a good time.
Okay. Are you a cook yourself? Or?
No.
Well, that's okay.
That was sort of a challenge. My son kidded me about serving Fruit Loops and Pop-Tarts at the bed and breakfast. But I'm learning, and I'm feeling very confident, and every day I take a picture of my pretty eggs just to show myself I can do that.
Omelets are over easy, or?
I can do everything now. Thank you. Come and have breakfast.
I think I must now. What would be your biggest piece of advice to someone wanting to start a business of their own?
Don't be scared. I have made a zillion mistakes. I remember when we started the Mother Shucker sauce at the Oyster Bar, having absolutely no idea what I was doing. And the first thing you know, I was on the jar. I was called Mother Shucker. And all of a sudden I had a new persona, and I had no idea how to sell cocktail sauce. I just got there and tried it. And with friends here at our Department of Agriculture, our Specialty Foods Association, we had camaraderie among each other, and we toyed with each other and held hands, and that's the most important thing. Whether you're in the bed and breakfast business, the restaurant business, the sauce business, or real estate, you search and help each other and seek advice of your peers.
Well, that's very good advice for whatever industry or all the industries that you're in. Well, congratulations again, Mary. Thank you for joining us today.
And thank you for helping me be an entrepreneur one more time. I'll be back in a couple of years with something new.
Well, great. We look forward to it.
I will let you know. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're joined now by Sarah Barber, the Executive Director of the SC Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. Thank you for being with us today. Your job is very crucial in most times. We've all read the statistics during the pandemic that domestic violence is increasing due to several factors. People being forced to be at home with their abusers being one of them. How is your organization reaching out, especially during this time, to help?
I think the thing that's critical to remember is that victims of domestic violence and sexual assault are really living within a crisis. So they're experiencing the crisis that we're all experiencing due to the pandemic, but then they also have the immediate crisis of domestic violence or sexual assault in their home, and the barriers that have been, the barriers to escaping that have been raised. I mean, it's hard, even if an organization provides virtual services, it can be hard to find the privacy to call. And then, of course, trying to think about moving or finding a new job during this time is very difficult. What we do at the Coalition is provide technical assistance and training and support to our member programs. So we have 22 member programs across the state who provide services within communities. And so we're trying to work with them to figure out how to allocate their resources and change their services so that they can still reach out and provide the most services to individuals at this time.
Very challenging, but I'm sure rewarding job as well. Another group locally that helps women that I love personally is Girls Rock Columbia.
Yes.
And I read that you played the guitar for them recently.
Yes, so my younger daughter has been involved in that camp 3 times and absolutely loved it. And they announced a fundraiser where adults would sort of do the same thing. And so I was lucky enough, I signed up, and I was lucky enough actually to be put in a band with 2 of my friends, and someone else joined us. And so for 5 weeks, we practiced and wrote a song and then performed. I had never played guitar before. It was terrifying, but also a really amazing experience. And of course, I'm just so grateful for what that camp has given to our family.
Do you still play?
I do not. It's sitting under. I actually bought a guitar after we were done, and we played together for a while. Then one of my bandmates got pregnant, and it all kind of fell apart. But it's under my bed, and I still kind of look at it and think about
maybe one day you can get the band back together.
Yeah.
Well, you're a very interesting person outside of your work. You've run a marathon, and I understand you've swung from a trapeze, but your mask, and I see your tattoo. I have to ask you, how do you get into falconry, and how does that work?
Well, it's something I'd really love to do. And I think actually doing the trapeze was taking part in that opened up a whole new world to me of just deciding I was going to do something and then finding out about it. So I've always really liked birds of prey. I find them really fascinating. And there's this amazing picture on the internet of a little girl holding an owl in the air, which is just the fiercest photo I've ever seen. And last year when I was at home in the UK, we were staying out in Pembrokeshire, and we were just looking for things to do. And so I Googled Raptor Centre, and within driving distance, there was the British Bird of Prey Centre, and they offered like experiences. So I signed up and went, and I made my brother drive me the next day and flew owls there. And then actually my younger daughter and I just went up to Asheville and flew hawks up there. And so it's something that I love. I've only done it from sort of a tourist experience kind of way, but I would love to find some way of doing it on a more regular basis.
Well, thank you for taking time out from your very interesting hobbies and important job to speak with us. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
We are joined by Cordesia Horn, the CEO and creative director of the Avenue Events and Design LLC. That all sounds very fancy. Tell me a little about your company.
Well, thank you. The idea of the company is for it to be fancy. It is a boutique event design company, and we primarily assist businesses, individuals, and companies with their events.
Okay. That sounds like hard but rewarding work.
I like to say that people who do events are people that can handle a lot of things that are thrown at them, at one time, because you can plan as much as you want, but there's always that one thing that happens, and I think it gives kind of an adrenaline rush. So I enjoy it. I enjoy people doing something that they can make a lot of memories from, things that they can celebrate, and things that they'll never forget.
Well, clearly you are one of those people who can handle a lot of things at once. We've got a lot of things to ask you about, but first of all, tell us a little about your Pitch Black Startup Competition.
So the Pitch Black Startup Competition came about with me actually working in local government and assisting small businesses. I would always see, for example, Black Enterprises, which is a magazine that has a startup competition, many other organizations that have it, and I thought, why not do one of my own? So the purpose behind it is to have small micro businesses who may have like 5 or less employees come and pitch their business or either a business idea. You may not be in business yet. Pitch your idea to a group of experts, and the contestants had the opportunity to win cash prizes or even prizes that would get them like entrepreneurial classes at Midlands Tech and things of that nature. So everyone that participated walked away with something, but of course we had 3 grand prize winners.
Okay. What are some of the more memorable pitches you've heard?
One in particular that I really liked was a young lady who is a nurse, and she's starting a wound care business. And basically it's going to be more hands-on and boutique style so that it's one-on-one. So for example, if you are a patient who's a diabetic or you may have some other health concern, she can work one-on-one with you or, your caretaker to assist you with those needs.
Oh, that's very interesting. What would be your best piece of advice for a young entrepreneur, particularly people of color?
My best advice would be is if you have an idea, just go for it. There's no perfect time to begin in starting your business. I think that the more you put yourself out there to other people, you'll find that there are more people that will support you. So start now.
And in addition to all of this, you've started a wine business just on the side.
That came about during the pandemic. Of course, you know, there were a lot of shutdowns and things of that nature. So trying to find alternate ways to get out and be amongst people. And the great part about the wine company is that we ship to over 25 states. And also I can do virtual wine tasting. So if you're at home and you have your girlfriends and you want to get on a Zoom call, I know we're probably tired of Zoom calls, but this is a fun one. But many people can place orders, get together, and have fun online.
Good gracious. Well, I'm tired just listening to all you got going on, but thank you so much for taking time out of that extremely busy schedule to talk to us.
Thank you.
Congratulations again.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
We're joined by Cherise Arundel, the Director of Strategic Initiatives and Communications at the Central Carolina Community Foundation. Thank you for being here, Cherise, and congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I know that CCCF does a lot of great work in the community, and you had to be especially pleased. I know that Midlands Gives was another record-setting year, even in the midst of a pandemic. So just what does that say about the heart of giving that exists in the Midlands?
Yeah, I mean, it's... Every year of Midlands Gives, I'm blown away, and maybe I shouldn't be, but it's so amazing to watch how our community shows up and comes together. And, you know, Midlands Gives is successful because everybody in the community does come together. It's not just one or two people. It's, you know, the donors, the nonprofits, the media, the business community, everybody makes it happen. And it just is so wonderful to watch on that day how people care about our community and they want to make it a strong and a good place to live, and they're willing to give. And it just really says a lot about where we live.
You work with and connect a lot of very valuable philanthropic organizations. Tell us a little about how you've been directly addressing some of the needs from the pandemic.
Yeah, so we have done a number of things. When the pandemic started, we as a staff got together and just sat down and said, what can we do? There's so much need and so many people are hurting. How can we help? And so there was a few things that we ended up doing. First, we ended up activating the 1SC Fund, which is the statewide disaster relief fund. And we were able to develop a wonderful partnership with Together SC, the United Way of South Carolina, the South Carolina Grantmakers Association to really help make sure that we're utilizing those dollars in the most impactful way. We also started a fund just for our community here in the Midlands. It's called the Midlands Community Response Fund, and we use that to really focus on areas that maybe 1SC Fund or other funders weren't able to cover and provide some relief there. And we also looked at what we were doing to help our grantees. So we offered for nonprofits who had received grants from us, if they wanted to make those funds operating funds instead of going towards a specific project, we extended that offer. We extended some of the deadlines as far as reporting back to us and applications to help make it easier on nonprofits. And then Midlands Gives was a big one as well. We sat down and said, how can we use this online giving day that's already an online event, already virtual really, and use it to help all the nonprofits in our community.
Now, I understand you were in the marching band at Furman.
I was.
I was in the band in high school. I played the flag.
Oh, okay.
But I know kind of firsthand that that's a lot of work and a lot of dedication. What lessons did you learn in band that you apply to your career?
Yeah. Oh, there's so many. I use the skills and lessons that I learned through music every day in my career. I learned how to communicate. I learned how to perform in front of people and make mistakes in front of other people. I learned the value of hard work and how practicing something diligently pays off. And most importantly, I learned the value of actively listening. When you think about playing in an ensemble, you as the individual musician need to know your part and play it well, but it's not until you start listening to the other people around you and understanding their parts that you can truly make beautiful music together. And when you think about it, that's what the Community Foundation is doing with our On the Table initiative. We are bringing small groups of people together to have a conversation, helping them realize that their individual voices matter, but also encouraging them to actively listen to the other people at the table. And hopefully through that, they're learning to make a stronger, more vibrant community together.
All right. Very good correlation there.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations again, Cherise. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And we look forward to the continued good work that the foundation does in the community.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
First Citizens changed my life and helped me provide for my family, and has helped me change other people's lives. And what's more awesome than that? Doing what's right for you. That's forever first.
We are joined by Nancy Smith, General Manager of one of my favorite events, the South Carolina State Fair. Of course, that event is going to look a little different this year. Tell us a little about the drive-through fair and what we can expect.
Yes, well, we're excited to bring a little bit of light and something positive to South Carolina, and it will definitely be a year like no other. Our 151st year will be our first ever drive-through state fair, and we wanted to give back to the community for something positive, and we also wanted to give folks a little snippet of what they would see if they were to come to their South Carolina State Fair. It will not look like your normal state fair, but we will have some fun, and you'll see some cattle, and all kinds of some artwork, and among other things, and also that yummy food that we know you've been looking forward to.
Well, as long as there's going to be some cows and some candied apples, it might be okay. I'm sure it'll be great. Just a different thing. I know that was a disappointment, but as you say, what are some things that this format can offer that perhaps the usual fair did not?
Well, one thing is, as I said, we'll give people a little snippet and a little short drive-through to see everything that South Carolina is about. We have competitive exhibits on a normal fair year from every county in the state of South Carolina. So our goal here is to let people see a little bit of what's in their home and craft department. Agriculture has always been the roots of the fair. That's how we got started, so you'll see lots of that. And you really get to do it all from the ease of your car. It was the safest avenue that we came up with this year for our COVID-altered fair. But it will be exciting. You'll get to enter. One thing you're not going to be able to do during normal fair time is you get to enter through the rocket gate. You know, the rocket is the icon at the fair, so you get to come through the rocket gate and take advantage of everything that's inside the gates there.
Well, great. Well, you mentioned some of the animal exhibits, which are a highlight for a lot of people, including myself. And I know that you've been involved with 4-H and FFA. My father led his chapter in high school when he taught agriculture. What have those organizations taught you?
Wow, that's a great question, and I think that's one of the things that's nearest and dearest to my heart in the fair industry, because as I said, the fair industry is all about agriculture. Our roots are in agriculture. And it just really has always been a boost to me. We're very involved in 4-H and FFA, and I've always said that, I gained so much from those young folks. Those folks are our future, and if you want to know some folks that are dedicated, have learned responsibility, and the things that are most important in life, 4-H and FFA is a great way to do it. The fair gives back for scholarships in that regard as well, so I've had the distinct pleasure of being able to interview some of those folks for the scholarships, and it just is a rewarding experience to know that the fair is helping to promote that and to make a positive difference in these folks' lives.
I know the fair is also asking people to submit their favorite memories. If you had to do that, could you possibly pick one?
I could. I think fair is synonymous with the word tradition, and I'm the youngest of 4 girls, so we were a family of 6, and my dad was really a workaholic, but one time we took off as a family, was always during fair time, and I can remember that. Of course, I'm on up there in age with this little silvery hair that I have, but one of my fondest memories of that is us being together, all of us going together as a family, but I had a neighbor, Miss Florence Gigger, who was elderly, and and I always had to get Miss Florence a red candy apple. And I will never forget, I can still see her to this day when I gave her the apple, and her eyes would light up and she would smile. So I like to see that when kids step up to the candy apple counter. It just brings back fond memories.
That's great. Just plain, no nuts.
Just plain.
That's
She
my
just
favorite
likes
too.
plain.
Well, thank you, Nancy. We look forward to a different, but I'm sure very fun fair that we'll all remember for some time to come.
Well, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you there, and thank you to everyone for your support of your South Carolina State Fair.
Congratulations again. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you.
Our next honoree needs little introduction. We are joined by Elise Parton, Mayor of KC. Thank you, Mayor Parton, for joining us today, and congratulations on being a woman of influence.
Thank you so much.
We were just discussing some of the beautiful parts of downtown KC now. There's a beautiful new mural on a building on State Street. That whole area, the whole town has undergone such a transformation in your tenure. What are you most proud of?
Gosh, there's a lot of things to be proud of. Our team, we have a team that really cares about customer service and puts that first. I love that people don't have to know me to get things done. There's an even playing field. That customer service is going to be available for anyone. And I love what we've done to revitalize the original heart of our city. That's just been fun to see come to life.
Right, it certainly has. Miss Soiree on State this year.
I know.
Maybe next year.
Absolutely. Yes, we're looking forward to it.
What advice would you give young women out there considering careers in any form of politics or public service?
Well, to keep in mind that it really is service. Mm-hmm. You are serving your community, and if you go into it with that heart, then you'll make a big difference. The other thing I would say is, oh my goodness, don't wait. Mm-hmm. We need you. Don't doubt yourself. Don't think you have to have a PhD in everything that you're going to be working on. You'll learn as you go, and if you come in with that servant's heart, you'll make a big difference, and we need you now.
Mm-hmm. Before we get off that subject, I know people are always exhorting you to move on up in the political realm. How many announcements do you want to make right now?
No surprise announcements today.
Just wanted to check.
Always good to check.
Well, it seems you're also quite adventurous in your spare time, which what little of it you have. You've rafted up or kayaked, I suppose, up the Congaree. You've been backpacking through Europe, but you started early in 6th grade when you took on the Harlem Globetrotters. Tell us this story.
I'm not especially a great basketball player, but I did enjoy it and was on my grade school's 6th grade team. And the Harlem Globetrotters came to town, and of course they were doing an exhibit game and raising awareness and doing all the good things that they do, but they also wanted to play against some local teams. And I'm not sure how I actually dribbled the ball at all because I was laughing so hard the entire time. They were just so fun, so gracious, and it really is one of my favorite memories.
Was that Meadow Lark Lemons?
I don't recall who all was there, but I have a picture of me and a jump ball with one of the gentlemen, and he was nice enough to get on his knees, and we were about the same height at that point. And of course, there were no real refs, and so one of the other guys playing held the ball out, and and they did their typical move where they'll take the ball and just put it on the ground and yell at it to jump. And I just thought that was the funniest thing in 6th grade. So there was no way I could have gotten the ball because I was laughing so hard. My best friend, who's in the picture right behind me, she was ready to go and get it. So I took that picture years ago when they came to town and actually got Curly to sign that picture.
How fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you make a shot?
And I don't even think I picked up the ball. I literally was just having so much fun laughing.
Well, that was setting the bar pretty high at an early age, so you've done pretty well in living up to that so far.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to speak with us, and we look forward to seeing the continued growth in KC.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the honor.
We're joined by Kim Jamison, Columbia Metropolitan Airport Director of Marketing and Air Service Development.
Yes.
Sounds very official.
Very, very.
Well, I know that obviously the pandemic has had a huge effect on a lot of industries, and I imagine that air travel has changed a bit in the last few months. What has changed, and how is your industry weathering that?
So all air travel, airports, airlines have been greatly impacted by this, and we saw a significant decrease in passenger traffic right when the announcements kind of came out about the coronavirus and COVID-19. And so CAE, like all airports across South Carolina, really suffered. We saw significant decreases in our passengers. There were a couple occasions when I went out into the terminal like I normally do on any given day, and where it was usually hustle and bustle and people going here and there and everywhere, I might have seen one person. And so it was definitely devastating, but we're currently on the uptick. We're starting to see more and more people come through the airport, and we just really want people to know that we're doing all the precautions and more that we can to ensure their safety while at CAE. And we have tons of guidelines in place to ensure their safety and ensure that they feel confident in flying again. So when they're ready, we're ready for them.
Well, that's great on a professional level, but as you say, it must have been hard to just be kind of in an empty airport.
Yes, so for myself personally, I love to travel, I love to fly, and a lot of the jobs I've had in the past, and even this one, I'm in and out of airports all the time. And so to immediately stop that, have tons of conferences canceled, it's just one of those feelings of like, gosh, I love exploring and seeing the world, and it was just a very jarring thing to kind of have to be in that shelter-in-place mode. And while we understood it and knew that it needed to happen, it is a definite kind of jarring shock when it does happen. So.
Well, my friends and I are promising each other that 2021 is going to be the year of travel. So
Exactly.
hopefully we can get to that.
Get those flights booked through CAE.
Of course. Why would you travel all the way to Charlotte?
Exactly.
Well, among the many things our spies tell us is that I wonder if you do you have a VIP card at David's Bridal or anything, because you have been a bridesmaid 16 times?
I know. Well, that is a testament to my amazing friends. You know,
you must be a popular lady.
I've just been super fortunate and blessed to have a lot of amazing women in my life, and I am so just thankful that I can be a part of their special day. And it has been quite a journey. I loved that movie when it came out, for sure. I think she was up to 27 dresses, I believe. But yeah, 16 times.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a real life record or not, but
yeah,
but it does speak to your group of friends, I would imagine. Well, congratulations again, and thank you so much for joining us today, Kim.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
We're joined by Sarah Hazard, President and CEO of the South Carolina Manufacturers Alliance. Thank you for coming, Sarah.
Good morning.
I assume these are very busy times for you. Can you give us a snapshot of how the pandemic may have affected supply chain and other issues in the state? I know from talking to some of our clients and sources that there have been some struggles.
So yes, the pandemic has been just an unprecedented event for all kinds of companies, in our case, manufacturers in particular, and with shutdowns that have occurred not only in the United States but in other countries as well, it has certainly impacted the supply chain. As things have reopened, we're seeing the supply chain kind of loosening up, and companies are getting the products that they need again. So things are looking a little bit better, but there's still some challenges out there.
Right. I know your organization has been working diligently to help solve those challenges. I'm just going to take a wild guess that maybe manufacturing isn't female dominated. It might be, I don't know. Do you feel that being a woman helps you in any way in your field?
Well, sure. So, there are more and more young women in girls that are entering into STEM-related careers and fields. So we are excited to see more women in manufacturing. In my field, working with the manufacturers that I do, I think that women oftentimes tend to be very detail-oriented. So I do think that that is a helpful trait to have, and really in any field, but in our field as well.
Mm-hmm. And South Carolina is a pretty good state to be pursuing a career in advanced manufacturing.
Absolutely. We're home to over 5,000 manufacturing facilities in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I know that your work and experience came into play when you worked on Accelerate SC. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little about what that experience was like and how that task force went about making its recommendations to sort of revitalize the economy.
Yeah, it was an honor to serve on Government Master's Accelerate SC task force. We met frequently and talked through the ways that South Carolina could safely reopen our economy. We worked with DHEC and with the state's OSHA office to develop guidelines and best practices for manufacturing companies specifically, and presented those to Accelerate SC where they were adopted. We also talked about liability protections that were needed related to COVID-19, which ended up becoming one of the recommendations out of the Accelerate SC Task Force. And then all the other guidelines for businesses that were looking to reopen as things were, trying to get the economy back up and going.
Mm-hmm. I've spoken with Ted Pitts about the liability issue, which I know the Chamber is concerned about, and it's an important one. What other issues did you want to be sure to address on that task force?
Mainly just the ways that the companies could look out for their employees and make sure that they had all of the information and resources necessary to provide the safest working environment possible. And so I think that the task force did a good job of working with all of the appropriate agencies, from looking at what the CDC was recommending to DHEC and to OSHA, to make sure that there was a safe environment for employees to be able to get back to work.
Well, we appreciate your work on that and all that you do to keep the state up and running.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking with us today, and congratulations again.
Thank you. Absolutely.
We're joined by Lizzie Tinker, Elliott Davis, Cybersecurity Manager. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Cybersecurity, of course, is an important topic, and we're only living more of our lives online every day. What, in your expert opinion, are some of the things that the average person needs to be most aware of?
I would say the most thing that most people need to talk about and think about is their passwords. A lot of people like to use the same password for multiple sites, which is always, very convenient.
Yes.
But
maybe not the safest.
But a lot of times you can find out, if you're within a breach, like if you've been within a breach like Target or anything like that, you can check to see if your email is within there and check to see if you've been breached. Because a lot of times what attackers do is they will take that breach data, has your password in it, and then they'll just start trying it on all other sites to see where they can get. And so, if they get into your favorite app or, something like that, it's not as big of a deal. But if you're also using that password for, say, your bank account, then it can become something, a little bit more scary.
Okay, so noted.
So, yes.
We must try to be better.
The best way to do it is to take a phrase and then use what they call a passphrase, and then just change characters. So if you're using the sentence, women of influence, you take all the O's and then you make them zeros. You take the E's, make them threes, L's, exclamation points, things like that, because you can remember the phrase so much easier, and then you can kind of put those different characters in there, which are very difficult to crack.
Right, that makes sense. Well, how did you get into this field?
By accident.
Like all good plans.
Yeah. When I was in high school, I joined the Illinois Army National Guard and took my ASVAB, and I scored very high on it. And so they were like, hey, do you want to be in this unit that's really close to your home? You get a bonus and like all of these things. So I was like, sure, what am I going to be doing? And they're like, signal. And I'm like, I'm not sure what that means, but let's do it. So,
okay.
But in the Army, signal is IT, basically, communications. Okay. So that's how it all started. And then I just loved it. I'm a problem solver. I like puzzles. I like math. So it just fit very well into.
Right. Well, tell us a little about how your military experience kind of shaped your career and the person you became.
Oh, basically it shaped everything. So I joined at 17. So I was young. I'd never, had experiences or, anything like that. It put me on a career path that I was very passionate about once I started. And then I went through, I met my husband through the military. I went through college being paid for by the military. The structure was very good for me. And then as I hit towards the end of my career, I realized I had a job that I had to be in the Guard in order to keep. I was what they call a military tech. So I was federally paid, but I had to be in the military, and like I had to wear the uniform every day, things like that. And in order to stay in that job, I had to stay in the military, and I knew that I was, heading towards retirement. And so that's kind of how I left the military. I went to the DOE and worked in the DOE for a while before moving to Elliott Davis.
Okay.
So
I'm just going to assume that neither the military nor cybersecurity are female-dominated fields. What advice would you have for women who may find themselves sometimes the only women in the room?
Oh, that's pretty much my entire life. You just have to be strong. You just have to you have to be assertive when you know what you're talking about, because a lot of times you can be kind of overlooked or not really listened to. But you just got to keep going. Like, eventually they're going to see that you're doing a great job and that you're just as capable as any of your male counterparts. And eventually they realize a lot of times that, like, you bring so much more to the table because you just have a different way of thinking and a different way of seeing things. So,
well, most definitely true in your case.
Yes.
Congratulations again, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
I'm Mary Caskey, and I am an attorney at Hainsworth Sinclair Boyd. I've been with our firm for 13 years. I head up our recovery group, which is a team focused on bankruptcy and collections and creditor rights. 2020 has been a very difficult year in a lot of ways, but it's also had some exciting parts to it. I was recently named as a member of our 4-person management committee for the law firm, and I am very honored to be considered a 2020 Woman of Influence. I was a part of Leadership Columbia, class of 2017, and our project was completing the Lincoln Street Tunnel, or revitalizing the Lincoln Street Tunnel. It was really interesting to me to work with professionals from all different areas. My life surrounded by lawyers, and so I really appreciated the opportunity to work with a lot of different professionals from all over Columbia. When I'm talking to new attorneys and talking to young associates about how to overcome their fears of being in the courtroom or in taking a deposition for the first time, I usually try to encourage them to draw on some experience in their life or something they were really successful at. When I was younger, I played the violin. I played in Carnegie Hall when I was 13. Music was really challenging. When I was in the orchestra and I was just one of the people in the orchestra, it was easy. I loved it, but there were times when I had solos or I had to be center stage, and that was really difficult. So when I walk into the courtroom and I'm the only woman, or I walk into a deposition and they think I'm the court reporter, I try to draw on all of the things that made getting through that solo as easy as possible. And that includes being prepared. It includes practicing. It includes acknowledging and accepting that I'm going to be terrified for at least a little bit of it and overcoming that. I try to make sure that any insecurities that I feel, that I overcome them with that preparation. It's not always so black and white that it's, well, men are making me uncomfortable in the room, and it's not black and white that, oh, it's my own insecurities. It's usually a combination of everything tied together, and the only way that you can overcome it is through putting yourself out there, putting yourself in the room, and preparing and getting comfortable enough with yourself that you can put your best foot forward no matter what happens.
We're joined by Joanne Turnquist, President and CEO of Central Carolina Community Foundation. Thank you for joining us, Joanne, and congratulations on being a 2020 Woman of Influence. Your foundation obviously does a lot for the community. I think I read that you're gearing up for another round of On the Table conversations in October. Tell us a little about that initiative and what it's accomplished so far and what its remaining goals are.
On the Table was started 2 years ago. This will be our third year. It is an initiative that was started in Chicago by the Chicago Trust with the objective of how can we bring folks together within a community to talk about what they love about the place they live, what things we can work on together. And the Knight Foundation adopted it as a platform, and we were one of the cohorts within the 26 Knight City network to participate. Our goal, we started in Richland and Lexington counties, 2 of our 11 counties, was to really get a better understanding of what our community members felt about this place that we all call home, and to give them an opportunity to voice their opinions, and for all of them to listen to one another and start building some collaborative efforts, grassroots otherwise, that could help us make this place a place that we would be proud to pass on to our children and grandchildren.
What are some of the most memorable efforts that have come in those first 2 years?
What we have done in the past 2 years is done a survey following the event. And following those surveys, we have issued grants to individuals who wish to do something around the areas that have been identified. I think what's been most important for me as a finding is that in our community, regardless of your demographic, regardless if you're old or young or black or white or brown, people feel that our place, these 2 counties, are rich in opportunities. The priorities that they want to work on are slightly different depending upon your perspective and your neighborhood and your zip code. But bottom line, the people who live here are optimistic about living here.
They're generous people as well. We spoke in May after yet another record-setting Midlands Gives, even in the midst of a pandemic. Just what does that say? What has it said over the past 6-7 years now?
7 years.
About the spirit of giving that exists in the Midlands.
Could you believe it? $3 million plus. Last year we had done 2.3 million, and we were prayerful that we would even meet the 2. I was prayerful that we would even meet the 1 because there was so much need. But having folks give from their heart, give $10 to the over 400 organizations to total over $3 million says to me that people, even when they're hurting in our community, want to help other people.
From your 11-county perspective, what are the most pressing issues still facing our community, and what can the average person do to help?
There are a number of pressing issues. Inequity has caused inequity in education, so our education system is one that we need to focus on. Access is another. So to answer your question with regards to what can I do as an individual, what can you do as an individual, if we work collectively to inform our elected officials how important broadband is for our community, for our state, not just to lift up everyone, because if you don't have access to a computer, how can you remote learn? If you don't have broadband, how can you work from home? So it is not only an issue of equity, but it is also an issue of economic prosperity. And we need to raise our voices to those in charge, those writing the checks, to say we need broadband and we need it tomorrow.
It was really sobering, the thousands of students that kind of just disappeared from any official.
Disappeared.
Once schools went virtual. And that's, I'm sure, a whole other issue as it starts back. I can't imagine being a parent worried about things like that. But just in your daily position, have you seen reasons for hope? And I'm sure you've seen examples of resilience.
Oh, absolutely. We have managed, for example, the 1SC Fund since 2015 when our region was struck by those horrific floods. We are resilient. I think folks in our community want to help one another. They are optimistic that by coming together to support one another, we can make a difference. Just this time with the 1SC COVID Response Fund, we raised over $3 million in an extremely short period of time, but most importantly, we had a collaborative effort of grant makers, United Way Association, and nonprofits across our state who came together and put aside their own personal biases, put aside their own personal agendas, and built coalitions that sought funding to help the entire community, not just that segment that they might have served. So when you see examples like that, Melinda, it just makes you beam inside.
Right.
It just gives you hope.
Well, just another example of all that Central Carolina Community Foundation does to help people in the Midlands and beyond. Thank you for your efforts. We appreciate you. Thank you for speaking with us today, and congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
This was an unexpected bill not covered by my health insurance. And this is the Aflac duck who helped me cover it.
Aflac! These are all the cab rides to my physical therapy, and Aflac paid me directly to help. Aflac! What he said.
And this unexpected bill is from the $2,000 specialist. Thanks.
Aflac!
When you're sick or injured, Aflac is there. We can help with expenses health insurance doesn't cover. Get to know us at aflac.com.
We're joined by Courtney Young, the president, CEO, and founder of Foresight Communications. I'm always interested to know what makes you, want to, and then found your own company.
So I am the fourth generation entrepreneur in my family. So from both sides of my family. So entrepreneurship is something that was kind of just in me. I mean, I always knew I was going to work for myself. I didn't always know exactly how. I always knew it was a thing. And so when when I realized what I wanted to do in college, I kind of had a plan. I worked that plan, came out, worked in a corporate America job in a biomedical research and development company. It was a great opportunity. Learned a lot of background information, and I had an opportunity that replaced my income, and I was like, so today's the day. And I'm still friends to this day with my boss in that time, so it was super encouraging, and as was my family, and it's always been that way. So,
what's the most nerve-wracking part about taking that first step?
Failure. I'm always working to not have that, but sometimes it happens. But initially you're just wondering, will I be able to eat when this is over? Will I be able to put gas in my car? So the basic parts, more than the big parts. The big parts, just, you don't even think about that. It's the basics, everyday things. So.
What fields of entrepreneurship were your family members in?
So my family, they're farmers by trade, real estate, real estate, insurance, and retail.
Okay.
So
a very broad spectrum.
Very broad, very broad.
And tell us a little about what Foresight Communications does.
So Foresight is a full-service marketing, PR, and project and program management company. So we work with organizations that are typically municipalities or aviation or aerospace or tourism. And we work with them to put together their marketing strategies, their public relations plans, and or to manage projects that they have. So sometimes in tourism, it may be festivals or events. If it's in aviation or aerospace, it would be some sort of small business or minority business program and outreach effort that they'd have. So a little bit of everything.
I was going to say, it sounds like you have to know a little bit about everything.
Yeah, I have a really great team that works with me. So I need to know a little about a lot. They need to know a lot about a little. So it works.
Well, that sounds like a great balance. Well, we asked all of our honorees for a favorite quote, and we just loved yours from James Baldwin. Your crown has been bought and paid for. All you have to do is put it on. Yeah. What does that mean to you?
So it means that I don't have to wake up every day and wonder, am I going to be great? I just get to do the things I'm supposed to do, and it will all work out. So I try and live by that and feel that every day. So, and share it with others.
Well, great. Well, clearly you're making that come to be.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Well, congratulations again, Courtney. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're joined now by Gail Aycock, the president and CEO of Loradac. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here, and congratulations on being a 2020 Woman of Influence.
Thank you so much. It was quite a surprise.
I know that Loradac does a lot of good work in the community. Just tell us a little about that, and what's the most rewarding part of your job?
Knowing that directly or indirectly every day I'm doing something to help somebody. It's awesome. It's an awesome feeling. I was lucky growing up in my career. I knew first off that I wanted to help people, and so I've done that. At last January, I started my 43rd year helping people. So Loradac is an awesome organization. The staff are incredible. They have done so much to surprise me at how incredible they are during this pandemic time, because we've really had to change things up quite a bit. So this time has been challenging. The sad stories that we hear sometimes are very challenging. And I think we've realized recently how much we depend on each other, because we've been working sort of remotely, sometimes in. So in the line of business that we do, we really need each other. So that's been a challenge.
How has the pandemic affected your model for helping your clients?
Well, we've been doing a lot telehealth-wise. We're bringing people back in as slowly as we can. The numbers are not really in our favor, so we're trying to be very careful. The main thing that we're trying to do is keep our patients safe and our staff safe. So if we can do things effectively home, then staff are doing that. But we can serve our patients better by bringing them in on site. And so those with the greater need, we've moved in sooner. Our withdrawal management detox unit has operated full force since the pandemic, since March. So I know we're not serving the people as well as we can, so I'm anxious for them to get back in so we can do that.
All right. Well, it's a very valuable service, and I'm sure.
Thank you.
Sure, you're doing the best you can. You mentioned as a mentor the amazing late Sarah Leverett.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone in Columbia knows and loves Sarah. Tell us a little about what she meant to you.
Oh, Sarah, she was just such a wonderful person, and she did so much in the community and so much to help women. She was just amazing, and I actually did not meet Sarah until she got into real estate. Because she retired and she got bored, so she went and got a real estate license, and she just gave a cold call to my house.
Really?
I lived on Marling Drive, and so this sweet little lady, she was so short. I opened the door. She said, "I'm a real estate person, and I just would like to talk to you." And it just so happened that I was really wanting to sell my house and get a little bigger. So we just got to be fast friends from there. So she actually helped me buy the house, helped me sell the house, and buy my house now on Woodrow. And just 4 years ago, she helped me sell my parents' home. So she was 98 when she died, 2018. So she was something, selling houses, 94, 95, 96.
Yeah, blazing all the trails for all of us.
Yeah.
Well, we understand that you were kind of a troublemaker in your youth, at least when it comes to animals.
Yes, yes. I do have a love, I have quite an affinity for dogs mostly. I did love one cat that belonged to my daddy before he died.
Just the one.
Just the one. I mean, I like all of them. I like all the animals. But yeah, I worked with Animal Protection League for quite some time. And I was their cruelty officer for a little bit, which I think might surprise some people that I would do that because they're just my heart. I actually couldn't do it very long because there were too many sad stories, but I did have a badge. And I was real proud to carry that. And then I did almost get in too much trouble with the animal control when I tried to interfere with them getting a dog. And a dog was running loose, but I put the dog back in the fence, and then they went in the fence to get the dog. So that's where we sort of got in trouble because I didn't think they should do that.
No.
But it all worked out.
Well, that's great. Well, clearly.
I was good, the dog was good.
Yeah. Well, clearly helping all things is a passion of yours.
Yeah.
And we in the community appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations again. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Okay. Thank you so much.
We're joined by Sutton Shaw, the executive director of the Big Red Barn Retreat. And that's a great organization that does a lot of amazing things. But before we get to that, I have to ask you. So when I spoke to you to tell you about this whole honor, you were returning from, was it the Keys, where you had
the Florida Keys
engaged in mini lobster season?
Yes, so the last Wednesday and Thursday of July is mini lobster season in the Florida Keys, and so that is one of my activities that I like to do with my husband. And I was down there with my husband and my 23-year-old daughter.
How'd you do?
We caught 23 lobsters. You're allowed to catch 6 lobsters per person per day on Wednesday and Thursday. So we did only like a half a day on Wednesday, and then Thursday we did 4 dives.
You talk about your husband and your daughter. Also, your father served as the inspiration or part of the inspiration for the Big Red Barn.
Right.
Can you tell us a little about him?
Well, my father was in the Navy right out of high school. My mom and dad met in high school. They were high school sweethearts. They met in typing class. And so he got out of the Navy and got out of high school, went right into the Navy. Got out of the Navy, came back to California and married my mom and got into the restaurant business. And that's actually what he did all of his life, was the restaurant business. But growing up as his child, I always was taught the importance of service, sacrifice, military, how important that was. And so I was taught how to do a shipboard shower. I was woken up at 5:30 in the morning with the flashing lights and reveille sung to me. So when he passed away, for my mother, obviously, it was devastating. And so as we thought back at how can we remember him and honor him, helping veterans who are struggling seemed like the appropriate way to do that. So we started the Big Red Barn Retreat in 2014, got our nonprofit in 2015, and here we are today.
Tell us about some of your programs.
Well, we helped about 3,500 folks last year, and so we have day retreat services like restorative yoga, Tai Chi. We do peer-to-peer mentoring where veterans are trained by NAMI, and they are facilitators for peer-to-peer mentoring. We use art in different ways to help folks kind of process what they're dealing with. We have gardening. We have equine-assisted psychotherapy. So we use horses in therapy to help veterans. They do not ride them, but it is all on the ground, and it's using a methodology called EGALA. So we just try to go at it in a non-traditional way to give them these services to help them become more aware of themselves, how they're feeling, how they're reacting to people as regulation practices so they can begin to calm themselves and really respond to the challenges they have. So those are kind of our day retreat services. We do retreats for Fort Jackson and the drill sergeants. We do work with the National Guard. We do group therapy with the VA. They'll bring in individuals for group therapy. And then in October, we launch our newest program called Warrior Path. And PATH stands for Progressive Alternative Training for Healing Heroes. That will launch in October, and that will be one of only 9 programs across the United States that offer this curriculum, and that launches in October, and that's probably going to be the crown jewel of the Big Red Barn Retreat.
Great. Thank you for joining us, taking time out of what I'm sure is a very busy schedule.
Oh, I think everyone's busy these days.
We'd like to congratulate Sutton Shaw
Thank you.
again, and thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
We're joined by Tamara Burke, the John Reeves Endowed Chair of Leadership and Professor of Communication at Columbia College. You're also the Director of PLACE Fellows in Leadership Studies program. And you were just mentioning school is starting, right? And it's in a very interesting time.
Absolutely.
What's that like?
We are anxious, but anxiously prepared in the sense, and determined to be optimistic and to let students understand that they can push through this. We are an institution that cares about, above all, service, leadership, and social justice. And this time in this world, in this country, that those issues are very, very big. And so our job is to teach young people that resilience is what will get you through in life, and that we need all the young people who are change makers as possible. Absolutely.
In that vein, I know that one of the issues that PLACE is involved in, I have visited your lovely vegetable garden on campus, is the food deserts in the North Columbia area. How has the pandemic highlighted that need even further, and what is the organization, the initiative, doing to address it?
It has, of course, exacerbated an already difficult problem before the pandemic. One of the things I'm most proud of, and I thank the mayor for, is that we've created a college food security committee, a subcommittee out of the Columbia Food Policy Committee. And just recently, Columbia College and Allen Benedict and the law school and undergrad USC did a fundraiser where we are doing what we can to get our pantry stocked before students come back. Our students at all of our institutions have significant food insecurities. And ours in particular, we live in a food desert. If we have a student on campus that does not have transportation, you really need to get downtown before you can get access to food, and that's assuming you have the means to do so. So there have been a lot of wonderful initiatives going on to get food to people, to homes. We just had our Belmont Community Neighborhood Night Out, where we had a meal for the kids and gave them their backpacks and school supplies and all of that. So it's really a lot of boots on the ground, roll up your sleeves, and just put on your masks and do what you can.
Another point in reading about the initiative you were mentioning made was that a lot of students may have or have had jobs in the food service industry that have disappeared. So.
Right. Well, we have a lot of students who end up being displaced, and I work with young people, and we often think that we've come so far, and we have. But I also remind my students that my grandmothers were born into a world where they couldn't vote. And Emmett Till should be 79 years old this year and playing with his grandchildren. And in many ways, our souls should be on fire. And we should all be seekers of good trouble. And so part of what I do with the Sisters of Charity Foundation of South Carolina and PLACE is to help students figure out what that fire is inside their own bellies and get them connected to experiences, internships, courses, whatever it might be, where they can at the same time learn to use their powers for good, but also prepare us to save us from ourselves in the future.
You are obviously a very creative person. How does photography feed that part of your soul?
I love photography. I went to photography school. The story of how I did that is I was in high school, and my guidance counselor called me into the office and told me that I was not college material.
Oh.
And that I had two choices, that I could be a flight attendant or a florist. And I went back and forth on those two and took her at her word. Those were my choices. And then I decided to be rebellious, which I am, and I went to photography school because I was going to show someone. And I'd always been into photography, and so I went to photography school, enjoyed it. I continue to enjoy photography, and that year I actually went to visit a friend at a college, and I looked around and I thought, wow, this is a good gig. Like, they have somewhere to live, and there's a dining hall, and they're socializing, and you're learning. And so the next year I applied to a college. And so photography school was kind of my first pathway into being a grown-up. And so I'm forever grateful for it. And that's one of the reasons that I love the students that I work with. Many of them, I see myself in them. And it was teachers and people who exposed me to worlds and cultures that I genuinely didn't know existed, and gave me the confidence and the affirmation that I could succeed in those. And, you know, many degrees and a PhD later, I'm here. And
guess you were college material after all.
Yeah, it was. It's hard work. It's hard work. And, you know, I think that people who are successful in higher education are people who are diligent and keep working and work hard. I think you can define smart in lots of ways.
Right.
Lots and lots of ways.
Well, thank you for sharing a slightly more open-minded message
Sure.
with young people.
Sure.
And thank you for speaking with us today.
Absolutely.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us as we honored our 2020 class of the Women of Influence. We would also like to thank again our sponsors, the Doubletree, Nephron Pharmaceuticals, and Clark & Company. We hope you enjoyed meeting our Women of Influence.